please forgive me. Everybody is important in their capacity. Amelia, darling, thank you for coming. Can you give a big for everyone who has enjoyed this breakfast this morning? The MD for EcoBank and the EcoBank people, please stand up. They funded the breakfast. That's not enough. And for the ladies who are here, you know, when you have more MDs in the financial institutions, it's better for us. And you can see we'll soon be launching Elevate, a program exclusively for women. EcoBank, I've given you enough Kalando. But the other EcoBank and Nakaunde, the MD for Finance Trust. Clap hard. When more women are in the room, we don't become so formal. You need to relax and postpone the wrinkles. So when we say clap, don't feel bad, you just clap. Yeah, you clap. So for those people who want to support women in financial institutions, you've seen Anne.
Siatini. The people who don't know Siatini, and then people that sometimes harass me. You are Diana. Melissa, can you just come and say hi to people? Then I introduce the rest. And yeah, they told me that that should be my job because I know most of the people at a personal level. But the way she talks, I don't want to be near her. She might make me look like you. Okay, Melissa, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here and allowing me to date crush. It's such a pleasure to be here. As you know, I'm from Uganda originally, so I'm back home. I got here recently. I had the opportunity to meet all of the network heads of the Graça Machel Trust, and I'm really hopeful that I'll be able to interact with more of you over the next week or so while I'm down. I can't stay too long, but I'm so excited for this, and it's great to see the EcoBank partnership. I know the trust has been having a lot of conversation, so to see it manifest in Uganda is wonderful. Thank you, Tim.
I told you, did you see how she speaks? Yeah, it needs. I also want to introduce to you, I'll just talk briefly about the Graça Machel Trust. Most of you know Mama Machel, and I'm so glad that we do most of her projects here. So in Uganda, we have 4 interventions. Can I request the people for new faces, new voices, as they come here? 1, women in media and women in business, represented by Winnie. Can you clap for them as they come? Some of them are... Okay, right here. So coming is Joyce. Joyce heads the Women in Agribusiness, 1. And it's very important if you are here and you want to be self-employed, you see her after. Hilda heads the women, and Winnie is part of Women in Business. Is there another name? So it was Mama Gracia's dream to form different networks. I head the Women in Finance, and today's event is headed by Ed and somebody called Walda Katende. I don't know where she is. And at this juncture, our chairperson, Frida is right there. I cannot tell her to come here. She's, I still need to serve as a... So, Frida Wamaravura, you are welcome. Okay, they are not comfortable being here with me, but it's okay. Yeah. Why today Maybe briefly, for people who know Mama Michelle, her passion is with women. That's it. Most of the programs she does are in line with women empowerment. And her dream was, if a woman is financially empowered, then the rest of the issues that are social dripping automatically. So very soon we'll be launching the Afrisera Fund, and I request you people like Yoga Ford, because we are not going to disperse the money directly, we are going to take it through institutions that have women focused programs. So her agenda is basically to put money in the wallet of women, especially at the lower strata. And if you see the kind of people we invited today, they are so much in line with the eco-holders in making this dream come true. So today's event is mainly to agree and to share with you the interventions we think that once we do them, once we involve ourselves and really align our businesses, let's say in the area of tax, in the area of women in defense, in the area of financial institutions, then in the next few years we'll see a positive impact against the dangers or the dangerous situations COVID created. And definitely each of us in this room tonight has a role to play. And I request, when our gender expert is talking about the gender streaming standards we're expecting each of your different institutions to take on, you please, follow through so that you make a commitment. At least that would make me very glad. You make a commitment to say, for us as Finance Trust, this is what we are going to do to reverse this. For us as Postman, something like that. So thank you so much for coming this morning. I don't take that for granted. I'm very, very excited that literally everybody we invited came. Some are farmers, some came from, had to drive from it. Yeah, so I'm so grateful. I think I will not be able to go through the different objectives because we started late. That will come in the main presentation. Emanuela? I'm not the one to invite the next speaker, so Emanuela will. If I have left you out, please forgive me. Once I settle down and the excitement has gone down, I'll be able to. But you are welcome, and I pray that the good Lord I serve blesses you.
We can see the excitement and we feel it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've been on a table where we've been discussing and saying, man, the guests in here it's a very colorful event. You know what I mean? Like a lot of color here. So our next presentation is actually from our partners, and that's EcoBank Uganda. I'd like us to just give a big hand clap to Catherine Sechiu. Now this one depends on which local school you went to, because now me, I'm from the north. My father was busy telling some lady from the west that he loves her. So, and then they came and settled here in Buganda. So you have an Anul, Muhima, in Buganda, we are just, our tongues are confused because I'm supposed to be speaking like a real northerner. But see, quite difficult to talk like that because my mother, this young Shere women. So now I'm here in Buganda. It is quite hard, but Catherine, you will come and set a second name on my behalf. And I will just take a really quick short break as we connect her laptop, because it's just a very short presentation. But while we do, I'd like us to give a huge hand clap to EcoBank for being our partner this morning and being our founder of this breakfast. Thank you very much. Catherine, I know we are going to connect your laptop. So just give us 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your patience. And I think one of the conversations we've been having is digitalization and technology. Because while we want to go online, while we want to use technology, the semantics around it. And isn't it why we are here? Now we are all women. All the women are asking, where are the wires? Where are the wires? Where are the wires? Which wire? Where does it go? How does it pass? Is it the one for here? Where will it? We did project, now we did go on Zoom, now we did go on the camera. Now we are all here like these women, just stranded, all of us here. But one thing we have that the one gift that we have as women is that we have good conversation. So I'm going to invite, as we look for the wire, as we get it, the wire is there, it's just how it connects to women. We are going to get there. We need a lot of training, that we'll get there. That's why we are here. I would like to invite our Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of EcoBank, Grace B. Molisa, to come and give us some really good conversation. And our sponsor, yes, some good conversation as we start, as we find the wire, okay?
Good morning to you all. All protocols observed. Teo said that we need to postpone the wrinkles. It's the one thing that I picked at the beginning, and which is why I didn't want to say, to highlight or specifically acknowledge some people, because as we gather here this morning, we all gather here for one cause, to uplift our sisters, our aunties, our mothers, and our friends and colleagues. So for me and for us at Ecobank, it's such a huge honor and privilege to be part of this session this morning. And before I share what it is that we are doing back at the bank, I'd like to thank the team in Uganda, the Graça Machel Trust team or representative in Uganda, New Faces, New Voices. I'd like to thank you and to take this opportunity to thank Mama Graça Machel for being selfless, for being so giving of herself, of her resources, of her knowledge, of her credibility and her social capital and name to support the women agenda and across the continent. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank her and speak about, why is it important that we're even speaking about women? We all know, and we have said it in different forums and different forms, that women are the backbone of the nation. We are not only women in business. Before we are women in business, we are sisters, we are daughters, we are mothers. And everything that we do, we approach it that way, because that's the sense of responsibility that we have grown with, or we have been given right from our foundation. So for me, it's something that is so close to my heart as a woman. And it's one thing that I am so cautious of and very deliberate and very intentional. That where there is a woman, I'll stretch my hand. And as I stretch my hand, it simply means that I need to uplift that woman. Because I also know that I can't do it alone. So my sister Teo, thank you. Thank you for stretching your hand to me and for us to be part of this. So I do represent Ecobank Uganda, and Ecobank is a Pan-African bank. A bank that is present in 35 African countries. We are operational, fully fledged in 33 African countries and 2 additional countries, which is Ethiopia and South Africa, where we have representative offices. And why am I highlighting our presence on the continent? I had an opportunity to just briefly share what we represent. When we say a Pan-African bank, probably sounds light, but my experience in Ecobank in the last couple of months is that has taught me that you've actually got to be African to understand the plight of Africans, and especially the African woman. So we have learned a lot, and as a bank, again, right from the group, we're based out of Togo, Lome, that we don't only occupy 63% of the continent, but we understand the continent and what drives the continent. And that simply means that we understand this country, or this economy, and what drives this economy. What is the woman? We have done quite a lot in terms of research, in terms of development, and in terms of partnerships to support women right from the center. So we did introduce what we called Elevate. And Elevate comes from the word L. L in French means she, and the power of she. So it started as a program that meant to get women together in different groups, in different associations, and across the different disciplines, like, Teo just shared with us, that if you have women in media, you have women across the different disciplines. And the strength that we bring from the different disciplines that we represent make us richer. So what Elevate then was meant to do was, one, to get women together, align them, prepare them, but more importantly, support. So Elevate proposition and right from group looks at businesses that are run by women, businesses that are invested in women-related products or women-related solutions. So it doesn't have to be a business that is run by a woman. So we look at it in 3 pillars. Women-run businesses, businesses that do support women solutions and products, and businesses that have 30% or whose 30% of the board representative is women. That was also deliberate because we're trying to be able to pick the women at different levels and support them. I just again had a brief conversation where someone asked me, so how many female bank MDs do we have? And I started from my sister in the room, who is an 8. And we're saying there's so much opportunity for us as women. The only thing that has always missed is the support system. How do we use this to create and build a very solid support system that is going to uplift every woman, wherever they are, and so that we co-elevate each other. And by doing that, I'm telling you, this nation will not be the world will not be the same. So we did introduce Elevate to support women in those 3 different pillars or categories. And we're looking right from what do we do, how do we educate, how do we expose them better, expose their businesses. So we have partnered with Google, for instance. So we have something called Google My Business. And Google My Business is meant to help women be able to, when there's something called SOE, search engine optimization. So when you go into Google and put the name, let's say Grace. So if we are positioning Grace Melissa, then you say Grace Melissa will come on top. So we are trying to build the different women businesses through partnership with Google to be able to access them. We've also looked at what is it that is really missing, and especially when it comes to MSMEs. It's knowledge, it's training, it's incubation. So, and again, we've partnered with the different DFIs on the continent and outside the continent, and through those DFIs, we are educating, we're enhancing women knowledge and information, because we also know information is power. That when you have a business and you have the information, then it makes you richer. So to train, to expose, to give opportunities. That we thought was very, very important. And also tapping into partnerships with the different governments, because and across the continent, there are different government policies that are aimed at supporting women. So the different women funds and the participation and how we actually take that information to women and help them use it in the different businesses they are doing. And of course, coupled with that is that we will not only extend knowledge and information, but address the one thing that, again, is at the core or at the heart of the women business. It is access to financing and the cost of financing. So the access to financing it's a challenge. And for most of us, you will do your business for the first time. You probably don't even have collateral. So what does that mean? So taking care of that need or meeting the different women at their points of need. First, by understanding what they do. 2, equipping them with the information. And 3 is accessing financing, pricing. So it's a journey, and It's a journey that we started, and we also know that we can't really move. We won't be able to move far without all your support and the partnerships that we see in this room. That as we do commit to the team in this room that we're going to walk this journey with you, I'd like to invite and call upon all of you to come and join in that journey to make the women better, or the woman better, especially now more than ever, that you know the last 2 years have changed the entire world's landscape. That the pandemic, or when I think about 2020, March, I think 17, the first announcement where we were as a country and where we are now, there's been so many setbacks, so many challenges, one after the other, that the pandemic, you know, I'll start with the good side, that for a very long time we didn't appreciate what e-commerce meant, that I can order for something online and it will be delivered to my house. That there's so many young girls that are doing business on Instagram, on social media, and that becomes a big channel. So how do we now, how do we pivot ourselves towards that group of, you know, young women that are very first thing we do is to go knocking on every corporate store looking for a job, but they can actually employ themselves and employ others. So then of course there's our, like I said, our sisters, our aunties, that traditionally set up shops in plazas, and those plazas were closed for the longest time. So what happened to that capital? It was depleted. So how do we support them? So, and that's on the financial side. There's the domestic side. There's the mental health that has been impacted as a result of that. So there's so much, and for me, if you ask me, I think we have not seen the real impact of the pandemic. It's probably going to go on for the next 5 or so years. That we will never be the same. But as we say that we'll never be the same, what interventions then can we together come up with to support each other, to support our fellow women in all forms of businesses, to lift them up and be able to face this challenge, but also, you know, not only face the challenge, but thrive, get out of this situation better and stronger. So I can go on and on, like I said, it's one of those emotive subjects, but I'd like to again thank Dr. Teopista Sejito for allowing us to be part of such a cause that is so central and core to who we are as Ugandans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Grace. We appreciate that. I worked with a bank before, I will not say which bank, and I was in marketing and communications. And many times before my MD could speak, I would have to have written his stroke her speech. And to see an MD who comes up because some wires are disturbing us and takes it on, and then for us to check through the presentation and she has finished it. Another hand for you. We'd like to also recognize our online audience. We have an online audience. Thank you so much for attending. We'd like to thank the team from New Faces, New Voices in Cameroon. Thank you so much for being here. Please give them a round of applause. We also have the Chamber of Commerce Ethiopia attending this breakfast from the comfort of their internet. So let's also give them another round of applause. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite the gist of our presence here. And really, that is the research that has helped us to come up with this gender mainstreaming standards. I would like to invite Dr. Sarah Hasaba. I would like to invite her. You've not even allowed me to say all your credentials. You come immediately. Allow me to yes, please. She's a doctor of philosophy in education. Yes, from La Trobe University in Australia. Oh my gosh. And some of us, we really need to go to university and finish. Some could be called doctors. I desire the name Dr. Manuela Patuto Molondo. So I am very encouraged. So I'm speaking to myself today. And she has a Master of Arts degree in Development Studies. She's interested in social culture research in the areas of literacy, learning, gender issues, poverty reduction, and community-based approaches to development. Right now, she's going to present on the Baseline Survey report on digital financial models and gender inclusion. Let's welcome together Dr. Sarah Hasaba. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. I'm grateful for this opportunity to about research that we at New Faces, New Voices are currently undertaking to review Uganda's digital financial models. I was told they will be flashing the presentation on the screen. Can we find out what the problem is? Oh, yes. Okay. So we are reviewing Uganda digital financial models in Uganda. This particular research is being facilitated by GMT, and it's going to feed into the 3-year project that New Faces, New Voices will be implementing with partners. On this particular research, I'm being assisted by 3 powerful and experienced women in the field of business, finance and banking. So we have Dr. Teo Montale Sechito, we have Ms. Wada A. Katende, and we have Ms. Frida Wamala. Next slide, please. So in this presentation, that's how I've structured my presentation. This research is part of the GMT Women's Leadership for Financial Inclusion and Economic project. Next slide, please. Next of 2 previously commissioned researches, again by GMT in 2021. The first of them being Women's Financial Inclusion in the Digital Economy, Regional Analysis of COVID-19 Economic Responses. This one was conducted in 8 countries, including Uganda, Nigeria, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Cameroon, and it aimed to understand the different hurdles women faced as entrepreneurs, including but not limited to access to finance, cultural factors, and lack of equipment. In the study, they discovered that women comprise 58% of the continent's self-employed population, and that the COVID-19 pandemic increased the fragility of women small, medium enterprises since they have low cash flow coverage. The key findings that are relevant to our own research are the ones we've pointed out there. Women were able, during the COVID-19 pandemic period, use smart devices to embrace virtual match of customers, and all women entrepreneurs were using mobile money to digitally pay their bills. We thought that was interesting. And then, of course, there was a downside that much as we celebrate that women are partaking of technology to use it in business and to improve the visibility and profitability of their business enterprises, there are still many women out there with limited or non-digital technology tools necessary for them to survive, especially now that we live in the fourth industrial revolution, where digital skills and smart devices are a must-have for businesses, for example, to thrive in this environment. So there was a second study, the rapid assessment of the effects of COVID-19 on 7 sectors in Uganda, and this was done with a gender lens in order to understand the position and inclusiveness of women in the current financial digital revolution, pre and post COVID-19 pandemic. And the areas that were studied are up there: family, media, finance, and education. Again, the key findings that were key from this research that we want to use in our own research are felt today, and they are ongoing. COVID-19 worsened the existing economic stresses and widened the gender gaps at all levels in Uganda. But I'm sure this applies also to other parts of Africa. All businesses were affected at all levels. Those with outstanding bank loans, accumulated a growing burden of debt, and they had to have financial institutions reschedule some of those loan payments. The last one being that dwindling incomes, disruption to trade and transport made food increasingly unaffordable for many people. And this led to instances of domestic violence and breakdown of family structures. And it increased, of course, poverty levels and the need that basic needs were hard to come by. You guys are rushing so fast before I can even finish the first line. The objectives of our particular review now, the overall objective is to assess the nature and scope of digital financial models in the country, and our specific objectives are ascertaining the users of these digital financial models, defining and illustrating the key features of the digital financial models in Uganda, analyzing best practices in the economy. So what the literature that we are sharing on the screen is what we feel is relevant to our particular study, that women more than men are less likely than men to have access to financial institutions or have a bank account. And the figure was put at 65% of men as compared to 58% of women. The United Nations, of course, has a concern that gender inequality is costing sub-Saharan Africa $95 billion annually. Women are overrepresented in informal and vulnerable employment. The digital divide still remains a gendered one. And women who are poorer, less educated, and in rural areas are more likely to be in that divide. To continue with the literature, much as we've been applauded as Africa or sub-Saharan Africa for making progress towards closing the gender gap, we were scored at 51%. There's still work to be done to be able to elevate, women's position when it comes to gender equality and being able to compete for resources at the same level and on the same platform. 60% of economically active women in Africa are in the informal economy. So a third of micro, small, medium enterprises are owned by women, but only 47%, up to 47% are financially underserved. And lastly, 20% of African women are excluded by by financial institutions. Of course, there is more literature, up-to-date literature, that we shall be adding on to our report with time. So, let's look at Uganda's digital financial environment or status. When it comes to Uganda, the highest proportion of MSMEs work in the agriculture sector, and that was scored at 14%, followed by education and health at 13%, recreation and personal at 10%. That was in 2015. Ownership and lack of digital skills that is constraining the growth of digital financial inclusion. It was estimated that 54% of adults owned a mobile phone, and only 45% were able to send and receive a text. Still in 2017, Uganda registered 540 mobile phone agent outlets, and according to Bank of Uganda, it was excellent progress and a potential expansion, especially in Uganda's rural areas. Continuing still on Uganda's digital financial status, in 2017, which is about like 5 years ago, men were found to be slightly more formally financially included than women, standing at 63% as compared to 54%. And new business models were witnessed that aimed to make processes more efficient for customers. For example, the peer-to-peer finance, which involves exchange of money from individuals to other individuals or businesses through a platform that bypasses Uganda's economic status. Two mobile networks operators, MTN and Airtel, to be responsible for 90% of all digital financial service transactions in this country. So Mokash and Wewole are like top of the list of money lending agencies in this country. Also, we discovered in our literature that formal financial institutions have had to create opportunities where customers can deposit, withdraw, and pay with ease. They've introduced the point of sale, agency banking, and mobile money services, so they can reach those sections of the population that previously were unbanked. So how are we doing this research? It's going to be, next slide please. It's going to be a methods research, both qualitative and quantitative, and these attributes will especially come out when we are doing data analysis. We have developed an online questionnaire which has both the qualitative and quantitative attributes, and we've designed the questionnaire for 3 categories of respondents. So we have those institutions like banks that offer women tailor-made or tailor-made products and services that address women's business needs. And we have those lending institutions beyond just Mokash and Wewole. There are other money lending entities that we want to tap into, like Platinum Credit, there's Fairlend, Ready Cash, Mango Cash, all those, entities that lend money. We want to know how much involved are women in such, digital transactions or digital payments, anything around digital money transfer. And also, we know who we are looking for. We know, last slide please. Our targeted responses, the respondents include regulators, supervisory bodies of financial institutions with products targeting women as a unique segment. We had it banked on EcoBank because we had other banks, but now EcoBank has this LVET. So I think we are going to quickly move in and tap into, what we have. Very happy to welcome MTN, the cash service, Airtel, Huawei. We have organized women groups, Kawil, Uwil, and other, associations and other women MSMEs in this country. Then we have microfinance agencies, we have SACCOs, we have VLSAs, then other money lending apps, as I've mentioned earlier. Fairland, more centered, I think it's more of MTN, then more Mango Cash and Ready Cash. The beauty of presenting today is that Mama Teo Dr. Teo had wanted us to have some concrete data to share with you. But when we piloted the research tool, we've not got responses from the different individuals that we shared the online tool with. So we are hoping to make a follow-up with them, I and the team. But the good thing is, some members present in this room will be called upon once we are ready with the first draft report. We show presence, we show that we are doing a research, and once they are called upon, they can make time for us. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening. If I do have 1 or 2 or 3 minutes on, I would like to welcome some comments or quick responses or questions that can guide us further while we carry out our research. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Yes, there's some questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation. But what is your targeted time frame?
Yeah.
That is 1. 2, how are you going to access the grassroots women as a respondent? Thank you.
Frida, would you like to help me with that? Or Wada? The microphone to you. Where's Wada to help us? Dr. Teo, maybe?
Amelia likes grassroots people. I'm so glad to inform you that some of the groups we work with as New Faces, New Voices, and I'm thankful to the donors that gave us money. We have trained and worked with over 5 main markets. Nakawa being one of the biggest, Kalere, my God, that was another one, Kasubi Market, and there was another one. So we are really looking at women right from the grassroots. The different segments. Because we cannot talk about financial inclusion when you're only focusing on people like Diana and URA. Then you have started from the top. So actually our approach is from down. And when you look at the product development program we have with different institutions, we have worked with the Centenary Bank, we have worked with the Finance Trust when we are opening a branch in Gomba and the Rainbow. When you look at the people we are looking at during those programs, we are looking at women whose earning is not even $5 a day. So we are really looking at all the segments from bottom to up, especially the women in the markets. So that is it comprises a very big percentage of women who are in the informal sector.
Okay.
We have a limit because the donors funding has time limit for every activity. So for the research, we cannot exceed end of July. So we'll have the report and share it with you. And you will be contacted every now and then in this program, which is a 3-year program. This year alone, we have 2 other round tables, I think, but each looking at a different intervention. This one is exclusively for the people. The dream come true of reversing the effects of COVID, especially to the business women. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Toi. There's another question for you here, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you very much for that presentation. But my question is concerning how you're targeting the rural. From her response, mainly about rural farmers, the women find those areas. Some of them actually, they may not be able to use, like we've said, the phones or the devices. So I hope the research could stretch a bit to them, and then we can get the response.
And you were here when I introduced the different networks. I introduced the lady that heads women in agri-business. So we have actually an exclusive budget, an exclusive office that considers the women in agriculture and agribusiness and focus on, special focus on value addition. So we have Where's Joyce? Joyce is there, and she's very passionate about farmers. And anyone who is seeing dried fruits, I think pineapple and mangoes and jackfruit, that is the brain behind it. So we actually have an exclusive program that looks at, and that office does yeah, so if you are here or you know a group of women that have a very good idea on value addition, we have the services, the training, we help people do concepts, we will help people look for money, and I think the way Mama Machel designed the different networks, she really recognized the importance of in fulfilling our agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have another one. That I missed that one.
Thank you so much. I'm Janita, here in Uganda. Again, there are already some programs in place that are running, and some of those are government programs in financial inclusion, but also digitalization. So the parish development model, for example, it's addressing the grassroots, the rural. I mean, do you have maybe something in your research that includes that parish development model so that it can address issues of digitalization, because that's one of their pillars as well, that can address financial inclusion, but also looking at these packages that government has put in place as well to ensure accessibility, because there have been programs running and women seem to be aware. How, again, are you going to enforce accessibility as well to those packages that government has put in place, the Emyoga Fund, the PDM? We have Postbank. Postbank says it's handling the SBRF fund that is addressing the SMEs. So have you also looked at that angle?
I'm going to give that to Sarah, but what you have to know, New Faces, New Voices is currently working with the Ministry of Finance to open up a center they call Citizens Reference. I didn't want to talk about it today because we have not finalized. What we are saying, most of those interventions that are currently running are post-mortem, and that's the biggest danger in African policies. Yeah, you come to intervene because there is already a problem. And we cannot ignore the fact that financial institutions during this time had a lot of NPS, yeah, non-performing. And I was invited in one of the financial institutions, and surely when we reviewed some of the loans or credit facilities, some people were not prepared for what they took. So what we are going to do is, before you even open an account, we have to find out, for instance, a person like me, am I a Standard Chartered Bank account customer, Centenary, EcoBank? So you, even at that level, we are going to, and welcome partners. We are really seriously looking at that, because it's going to save you financial. Oh, sorry, my boss has come, the ambassador of South Africa in Uganda. Can you all stand up for high excellence? Kifamile means I'm so happy to see you. Sorry. The ambassador of
Uganda. So South Africa to Uganda. Yeah, sorry, out of that language, we share language. Yeah, so I'm just welcoming her. So what I was saying is, we are really in the final stages of making sure that before you people lend to a customer, we prepare that consumer, first of all, to appreciate, are they in the right financial institution? Two, are they, what if maybe you don't need an overdraft, you need, an LC, maybe you don't need that, maybe you need a loan, something like that. So we are really in high gears to stop certain mistakes from happening as new faces, new voices, and the Rush National Trust as a whole. So I got excited when Her Excellency entered, but I hope I've answered the question. Okay, Sarah can add.
Let me briefly add on what Dr. Tewa has said. It's good you brought that issue up, that angle. As we carry out the research, those are some of the areas we can identify and recommend for further, intervention. The fact that the program or the project is going to run for 3 years, there's always room to slot something in on, the areas you mentioned. So we'll capture that in the research for reference much later. So perhaps maybe you can ask again after 3 years what you guys did with what we've asked. I hope that kind of answers that for now. Thank you.
Well, there is one more question, the last, the final question. There's a very interesting conversation coming up. You don't want to miss this one. So, last question.
My name is Stella Galambi. I am MD for Hama East Africa, and I think I represent 120,000 women in the rural sector that don't have banks. They don't use banks. And so what we've been working on is how the bank's going to be, or anybody in the financial sector, going to be using their production records to give them loans. I mean, COVID has been here, and we've talked to some financial institutions. I've been digitizing their farming records since 2013. And what we do is, if I have 3 seasons, you can see that I actually have made 7 million shillings. Why can't you give me a loan without me having a bank account? Why can't you use that banking statement of my farm production records? So, Dr. Teo, if you can include this in your research, I would be very, very happy.
Looks like we have another participant, so we are good. Again, we would like to recognize the presence of Her Excellency, the South African High Commissioner to Uganda. We also continue to recognize the people that are with us online from Mozambique, from Zambia, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Senegal, Tanzania, and even in Kenya. Specific recognition to Josina Michelle and Amani from Egypt. One here, yes, please, another hand clap. Would like to recognize and also thank Regis Namudu, who is the Director and Secretary to the board at Makerere University Business School Leadership Center since 2007. I've always loved to see her because I feel like she's those women who you want to be when you grow up, quote unquote, because we like to say that statement a lot. She's remained our she has been in. So thank you for bringing color to offices. The next part of the program is, I like to say, is it's a storytelling. Let me call it a storytelling. And the reason why you and I are here. In the beginning, when I introduced myself as a wife, a mother, and a woman. But that's not the only facet to myself. I'm also, I'm a workplace gender equality advocate. I'm the CEO and founder of The Cradle. The Cradle is a childcare and lactation service designed for the workplace. So we set up centers for in your workspaces so that every woman can have the ability to fulfill her full potential and yet still raise Africa's human capital. I wish that was all. I'm also the president of the Early Years Foundation. And the people in this foundation are women who own businesses in education. So you can imagine how excited I was to come here and to be invited to be a host, because even the research touches on women who are in education. I was ecstatic about this. So the real reason as to why we are all here, and where all of our fingers become equal. Remember in the beginning I said not all fingers are equal? At this point of the presentation, our fingers become equal. Everybody in this room has been specifically invited, especially for the next part of the presentation. It is how each one of us, wherever we are, in our different capacities, can get the knowledge on gender, on these gender mainstreaming standards that are being proposed by new faces, new voices. I'd like to invite Susan Bantelia. Susan Bantelia is a gender specialist. I have a life that I have had so far, which is going to be very long, but I can say to all manner of confidence that if there's anybody that I've had speak on gender, I've never had someone translate gender so beautifully, so articulately, so passionately, and so clearly. And so I would like to invite you to listen in on this presentation so that you can see how you...
Thank you very much, Manuela. You were really making me feel like a queen. Yes, I'm a queen, of course. So the Honorable Ambassador of the South African High Commission in Uganda, the distinguished ladies in this house, some ladies I have admired from a distance as they have been serving at different levels, Honorable Amelia Chambade, Dr. Maggie Chigozi, so many other distinguished ladies in this room. I'm really glad to talk before you. It is actually an honor before people, great women, in and out, with or without money, rain or shine, to make sure that the situation of women changes. Our presentation, or to what the Graça Machel Trust is proposing as the starting right from the individual level, the household, the organizational level, national. Manuela said, my names are Susan Bantelia. I'm a gender specialist. I have worked in different places, but currently I'm not anywhere because, like how my mentor is Mama Teo, I'm also pursuing a PhD. I keep on telling her that you become the person you associate with. And the other day she was showing me a picture where she was with, is it Bill Gates? And I told, she said, my Honorable Machel took me to these spaces, and I told her confidently that you will also take me to those spaces. So Mama Teo, I cannot call you doctor because you know, I honor you, I respect you as a great woman who is working hard to change the situation of women in finance, in the economy. So, today's function is really very important. Why? First of all, I want to congratulate all of you that we all managed to go through the COVID-19 situation. It was terrifying, it was traumatizing, it disorganized our families, it destroyed our jobs, it affected our incomes, but as conquerors, we are all here. So congratulations, ladies. I would also like to really recognize the men who are in this room. We respect you because currently we are